It's daybreak here on Arise News, and it's time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the pages just as they arrive. Let's begin with this day newspaper. It says Tinubu joins political business leaders in Saudi Arabia for prayers and networking. And the writer says Atiku, Dangote, Rabiu, others meet, strategize for 2023. The leading photo on the front page this morning captions Bello's journey to presidency begins. That's the Kogi State Governor Yahya Bello being presented his presidential nomination form by the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Adamu, at the secretariat after paying the 100 million naira nomination fee yesterday. Thousands storm APC secretariat as Bello picks nomination forms. That's on page 36. Senate amends Terrorism Act in bid to stave off sanctions. Some riders prohibits payment of ransom to kidnappers. Amendment aims to prevent terrorist groups from laundering money through the banking system and other financial networks. Above the nameplate of This Day this morning says This Day presents video evidence of Wike's unreliability, praising Amechi Obaseki yesterday, attacking them the next day. This is obviously at the resumed hearing in yesterday.
The Daily Sun is leading with APC set to disqualify aspirants over resignation. The party's deadline to political appointees to quit expires this weekend. Kidnapping. Senate strengthens Terrorism Act, makes ransom payment grievous offense. That's on page 26. Feni Ferre, that's the Yoruba socio-cultural group, socio-political as well, slams Buhari on State of the Nation. It says the president has shown incapacity and a lack of will. And 2023, supporters storm APC secretariat as Yahya Bello picks his nomination form.
All right, The Nation newspaper. 2023 battle for tickets pits governors against senators. Attention has to riders. Tension in states over slots. Parties moderate struggle for positions. Of course, you see the Yahya Bello being handed over his form by the chairman of the APC. APC gets petition to disqualify Abiodun. Governor, allegations spurious. Then, just at the mast, ministers insist no resignation before primary. You can find this on page 4. Let's seek foreign aid to free abducted train passengers. That's on page 5. That'll be it for The Nation newspaper, except for the fact that fraud, federal government extradites Nigerian suspect to U.S. Man, I wonder who that is.
Let's quickly look at the Punch newspaper. Leading with the Electoral Act says more commissioners step down as Buhari's ministers refuse to go. Governor Tambuwa's 11 commissioners, SSG chief of staff resign. Amusu join a presidential race. Yahya Bello, Wajuba pick forms. Ngige saying, I won't resign. The leading photo on the Punch this morning shows Lagos traders protesting shooting of businessmen, kill a cop, and celebrator disappear. That's on pages 4 and 5. Above the nameplate of the Punch this morning, Senate prohibits ransom payment. Abductees' families seek talks with bandits.
The international papers. This is the I paper. 20 warnings missed to stop COVID slaughter in care homes. That's in the UK. The High Court judges rule government acted unlawfully by sending untested hospital patients.
All right, The Mirror talks about sleazy party's new low. It says stories in bold letters. Stories spawn shame in comments. You see it down there. Top politician was watching on mobile as he sat next to female minister. That's from the Daily Mirror. Do we go to Emmanuel or take some more papers?
Let's go to Emmanuel.
All right.
Emmanuel, good morning. Are you with us this morning? Thanks for joining us. If you can hear me, let's take a look at This Day newspaper and the amendment that's going on in the Senate. It says Senate amends the Terrorism Act in a bid to stave off sanctions. It prohibits payment of ransom to kidnappers, and the amendment aims to prevent the terrorist groups from laundering money through the banking system and other financial networks. There's been a lot of outcry about this amendment on social media platforms, activists as well. It's saying, some people are saying this could be a death sentence passed to anyone who's abducted. And obviously, to reduce or eliminate this so-called death sentence, security officials need to improve their commitment now by, 1,000%, because who's going to be the illegal culprit here? Will it be the government that fails to secure or rescue abducted citizens, or the family of the abducted who would want to save their loved ones from these terrorists, Emmanuel?
Nkechi, you are right, and that's the dilemma presented by this action now. On one hand, you have the victims who want to give their very life to rescue their loved ones, and then you are saying that, okay, well, we have to do something, and you have to look at the serious work that the Senate has to do, the crisis of financing terrorism. They want to take out the oxygen from that. If you can cut off the money flow, that is the idea. And they've been on this for quite a while, even with the central bank governor one time talking about how those bureau de change were outlets or platforms for where terrorism is being financed, and even identifying companies where that are used as conduit, pipelines for some of these financing. So the Senate is trying to cut off, take out the valve out of that to take out the oxygen practically from terrorism financing. And all over the world, one way that developing economies or even developed countries are dealing with the crisis of terror is to suck out the monies and to dry out the taps where those monies are flowing. So the idea is that if you can just cut off the financing, if you can stop it, because you need a lot of the terrorists and bandits need a lot of money to be able to do what they're doing. So, but in Nkechi, like you say, this now presents a dilemma to victims, people that are ready to sell off everything to buy, to buy back or take back their loved ones. We're all involved in the stories. If you have not been directly affected, you know someone somewhere, families raising money, selling off what they can do. People going bankrupt practically to rescue loved ones, and the rest is harrowing. Apart from the psychological trauma anybody can find themselves in those kind of situations. And so, but to now say it's also criminal to pay those ransom. It's something that if you say there's an outcry, I totally agree with you that yes, people are worried. In the long run, Nigerians will continuously, tax on this government to do something about protecting them while they're dealing with other ideas, because part of it also is to get ideas on how to deal with the crisis of terror. Already, government has been blamed that it's run out of ideas and that it's been overwhelmed. So everybody is doing everything they can do to see how they can deal with the crisis of terrorism. And one of the areas to actually look at is the financing. Who are the people financing this? Who are the people that have been identified? A governor yesterday sacked 2 traditional rulers on the issue of banditry. But Nigerians would like to see more of that. Would like to see, if you say you know the companies, you know the individuals. Sometimes you hear things like, we know the individuals behind this thing. So why have you not done some naming and shaming? Up to now, we've not seen any of that. Those are the kind of strong action I think Nigerians would like to see beyond the platitudes of talking about sucking out the finances out of these horrible situations.
Emmanuel, let's turn to the politics now. There are more entrants into the race to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari. And in the APC, we have a serving Minister of State for Education, Ahmed Kanwajuba. He's paid 100 million naira and he's picked up his forms. And he's joined a growing list. We've had Governor Yahya Bello, Fayemi Amosu, and Ayade is having talks and having his consultations. And Emmanuel, one wonders what's happening in the APC. An expert is saying perhaps there would be a dark horse emerge when the primaries happen. Do you see that happening?
Well, Kenneth, yeah, anything is possible in politics, and certainly in the, excuse me, in the kind of politics that we are seeing, the kind of race we are seeing now, the intense race where almost everybody is joining. You're right, the junior minister in education ministry yesterday picking from a lot of people also taking that up and saying that students are at home, and then the Minister of Education, the junior minister there, he has 100 million to go buy forms and then run for office. And probably we'll also talk about what he can do for education while students are at home. He's picking those forms. So people have issues with that. So those are the kind of things. And we are seeing a lot of drama. And I think the way we are pursuing these stories is the best way to look at the characters who are picking these forms, to query what they are bringing to the table and all that. You talk about a dark horse. Those talks are very rife. Those of us who run around those cycles, especially at night, get to hear all sorts of things around the issue of who is emerging. The former president's name has been touted to, though of course there are no official confirmation of some of those things. But you are right. Probably the front runners we're seeing now and the big names we're seeing now probably won't be the ones that will emerge. And then the APC, all eyes are on the APC to see how they are going to do their primaries. Are they going to arrive at some consensus? Are they going to go straight to have those primaries the way they want to do with through direct or indirect primaries? What I heard yesterday around some of these cycles is that people are favoring the fact that everyone should go to the polls there and slug it out, and so that the best man will emerge. But this politics, a day in politics is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day. They say that. So anything could change in the last minute of it. But all eyes are on the process, and everyone is getting interested in what's happening there.
Well, you'll always have pretenders and contenders. That's what the list seems to be showing us. But we'll know who the pretenders. I think we know some of the pretenders. But I'm interested in this story, Emmanuel. This day presents video evidence of Wike's unreliability, praising Amechi, Obaseki 1 second, and then attacking them the next. And this day says it's publishing it for public interest. I'm wondering, how much of a damage will this do to his aspirations to become the president of Nigeria under the PDP platform?
Well, that's yet to be seen, but to the story itself, this day did a story in 2020, and everything right after that seemed to have suggested that it was almost prophetic, and that what this day said about the character of the governor, it's actually, the paper did not lie. It said, look, this guy has a lot of flip-flop, and we've seen that with, Governor Wike, and the evidence are there, even now presenting video evidences of what he said one time and what he did another time. So those flip-flops, those somersaults, those turn around, what some people will call betrayals of trust and inconsistency in character, are well displayed. So it's difficult to say how he's going to make a case against the medium, the paper, to say that it worked against him. Already, the counsel to the paper is saying that none of the things that were published in 2020 actually affected Wike in any way. He got the appointments. I mean, he was able to get some of those appointments. He's becoming DGs and all of that. So it doesn't look as if that publication actually affected his fortunes in politics. It's not so clear whether it was also going to affect whatever his aspiration to be president. So it's the paper pointing to someone's character, and he says fair play. He's public figure, and so his character can be discussed in the public fora because he is appealing to the public to make him president. They might as well know the kind of person that they're going to cast their vote for. So it's fair play. He's a public figure, and he's in the public domain. So those things are fair comments about him. So it's an interesting case, but we don't want to foreclose what the courts are doing. But it's very clear that the momentum is on the side of the paper in advancing evidences that this is a man whose character has been called to question, and a lot of Nigerians have questioned those flip-flops and the inconsistency, even the manner and his body language and all of that. Nigerians have actually called that to question. Recently, when he said he's the only one that has got the answer to banditry and that the APC is scared of his personality, a lot of people question the manner and the ways he goes about saying some of those things. So in a way, the paper is probably very prophetic in 2020 in telling the world that this is going to happen. The fallout eventually happened between him and the governor of Edo State. Of course, there were attempts at building those bridges back, but it's clear that many things have gone wrong, and those trying to impose himself on the party. He's been clearly accused of that by the PDP. And right now, some of the crises the PDP seem to be going through seem to be emanating from that sort of the predominant posturing of Governor Wike, and how they are going to deal with that seem to be part of and parcel of the crisis or the stories that they covered in 2020.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello, for joining us this morning on the Press Preview.